What if the most dangerous place in the world isn't some haunted houses or dark alleyways on a Saturday night? What if it is your neighbor's living room and you have a map to prove it? Hello everyone, welcome to Harry's Book Cafe. And that is the premise of a nightmare built into his latest book, Strange Buildings. Now, before I dive into review of this book, let's talk about his writer. Uketsu is a rather interesting character. He never appears anywhere in public, at least, without his mask, and he always wears a black tracksuit. Nobody really knows his true identity, and I doubt his publisher and his agent know who he actually is. He was, in fact, a very successful YouTuber before he turned his talent into writing. Strange Buildings is actually his third novel. The first two, Strange Pictures and Strange Houses, both are absolutely amazing, both of which I have read and reviewed. And if you haven't watched them already, please, I beseech you to give them a try after this video. Strange Houses, in fact, is one of my most watched content, so please give them a try after this video. Now, this is the third instrument of the strange things, and I can promise you this is by far the much darker, much more ambitious, and much more disturbing than his two previous works. Let's dive in. The book pretty much continues from what's left from Strange Houses. The writer, or the narrator of the story, collects files from people all over the country, Japan, who send him emails about strange architectural features of their own houses. Those 11 files makes up the bulk of the first part of the novel. The tagline is pretty much 11 files, 1 secret. When I first start reading the book, those 11 stories seems completely unrelated. However, the more you read, the more familiar names start to pop here and there again and again, and connecting them all is a rather creepy one-armed and one-legged Barbie doll. Critically, just like his previous works, Strange Buildings also include floor plans of 11 different houses. Those floor plans are not gratuitous, they are not there for illustrations. In fact, they are the very essential part of this novel. The second part of the book is more about conclusions. The narrator of the story brings the 11 files to his architectural friend, whom we have already been introduced in his previous book. And together they try to fit these 11 stories together and find out what the secret is that connects them all. Now, before I continue further into this review, I must let you know some trigger warnings, and just in case you are not comfortable with what the book is actually involved. So it involves child neglect, child starvation, abuse, human trafficking, as well as suicide. Needless to say, this book is definitely not for the faint of heart. The writing style of this novel is very direct, plot-driven, with no inner monologue. It reads like a police report, like actual files that you would find in a workplace. The focus is very much entirely on the puzzles and the facts. Because the floor plans are involved, and when you read this book, the book forces you to become not just a reader, but an active participant in trying to solve the puzzle. So the book is peppered with floor plans just like this. And when I first turn on the book, I see the floor plan, and because I've read his previous book, I know that there is something entirely wrong with this floor plan. I spent quite a lot of time just staring at it and try to suss out exactly what's wrong. Just like I said, it forces you to become a participant, a detective, rather than mere reader. And that's why his books are so much fun. And I promise you, you will keep flicking back and forward, trying to find a hidden passage or hidden secrets. Each file seems to be progressively become more dark, more creepy, more disturbing. And when you read the first part, it seems almost as if It's unrelenting. You might feel exhausted by the lack of break that you get from reading those very disturbing tales. Unlike the previous two books, I mean, the previous two books seems a little bit far-fetched. This one takes the concept of far-fetchedness to a new level. The book is so much more ambitious than the previous two, and because of that, it somehow becomes more convoluted, more complex in the whole construction, in the whole 11 files. You can't help but to wonder, how can this be anywhere near possible? And because of that, because that you have to suspend a lot of your belief, it really dampens on your enjoyment, on the believability of this book. And that perhaps is its biggest weakness. Who is this book for? Definitely for people who loves a dark story as well as puzzle solving. Because, as I've mentioned before, this book forces you to become an active participant rather than mere reader. So if you like solving puzzles, then this is definitely a unique experience for you. Now, what's my verdict? Now, Strange Buildings at nearly 400 pages is significantly longer than any of his previous works. However, when I start reading the book, it seems like I have been there before. It seems I'm reading a mere continuation of The Strange Houses. I mean, it's the book itself, it's very interesting, but it lost its originality. I mean, great idea to include floor plan. That's pretty much his unique selling point. But Strange Houses has done it, if you know what I mean. So when I read this book, I just feel like I've been there before. There's nothing really new and refreshing that can really keep my attention or grab my interest. Although on its own, it's still quite interesting. If you want to read Uketsu's novels, then don't start with this one. Definitely read Strange House. It's much more compact and the story is therefore much more compact. This one, I feel like this one is going all over the place at times. I would give it 3 out of 5. But good news is that at the very last page of the book, it tells you that he's working on something perhaps even more crazier, strange maps, and giving the publishing histories of Uketsu's book here in the UK, I won't be surprised to see strange maps publishing here before the end of the year. Find this one interesting, definitely give it a thumb up, share with your friends, and subscribe. And also, please do let me know in the comment section down below, what is the most disturbing book you have read, and let me know. I would love to give them a try. Until next time, guys, cheerio.